In good and bad times. You, Guy TVDC. Hi there. I have a small story to share. It's my grandmother that shared this with me and my wife last night. However, this is not really Nuclear Revenger Pro. But I didn't know in which subreddit to share this, as it involves quite some disturbing thought. Also, the usual. English is not my prime language, and on my mobile phone, my grandmother is fairly wealthy. Thanks to family money and a few good investments, she built up her inheritance to what it is now. Due to never having to work and enjoying the finer things in life, a bottle of white wine a day keeps the doctor away. She had quite the circle of friends that are quite wealthy or successful themselves. It's like a cliché from a movie. This story involves one of her friends. I will call her friend Maria, and her husband will be named Joseph. Maria and Joseph were long time married. They started with a small furniture business. Maria was the salesperson and Joseph was responsible for buying the new collections. While Maria had to stay in the country and keep an eye on the shop and the kids, Joseph could venture through Europe in the search of new, cheap but nice furniture to flip with a huge profit. It all started fine. Kids were growing up and the shop got quite successful, eventually becoming one of the biggest ones in the country. This thanks to mutual effort of Maria and Joseph. However, dark clouds started to form in their marriage. Joseph wasn't only looking to score furniture. He also scored loads of women in other countries, leaving Maria alone for weeks while he scored a few couches and slept on some as well. This is the pre-digital era, so no mobile phones yet. Only the promise to send a letter once in a while. During their life together, Joseph would cheat on Maria every time he saw the chance. After a while he even didn't care anymore if Maria knew. Would even bring his mistresses to the home city to spoil them in fancy restaurants. Note: this was a different time. Women's rights are established now, but this wasn't always the case. When Maria decided that it was enough, the abuse began. Mentally as physically, he started to abuse her for a long period in their marriage. She couldn't leave him because of the kids, because of her lifestyle, and because of the business. And he knew, so she endured, and every time she decided to fight back, painful consequences happened. He was the man. Even having intercourse with her without her permission to establish his rights as the man. Later in their life, they are becoming elders, gave the shop to their kids and retired. Decided to take it easy. Maria long lost her interest already in Joseph but still couldn't leave him. When money is involved, people tend to endure a lot. And Joseph got sick, really sick. A combination of Parkinson and cancer, eventually ending up in a wheelchair. Maria, like every good old wife, decided to nurse him till she couldn't do that anymore. In my country you have something like euthanasia. If you still have a good mind and you have a lot of pain, you can go to the doctors and the notary and draft a paper that whenever you cannot care for your own anymore, you can commit legal suicide. Simplifying terms. Note: it's important to say that the spouse has to keep the official letters and make the final say, because the person involving it often doesn't have the correct mindset anymore. And thus, her revenge began. Joseph got worse. Joseph got in the hospital, and his cancer started to infest his body. He was a shade of his former self. Having pain all day and morphine could only help so much. Even though he was in the hospital for weeks and weeks. Even though he begged and begged to Maria to hand over the euthanasia papers. She simply smiled and said no. Which papers? The first week he got in the hospital, she burned the papers. For weeks to come, he begged to die. For weeks Maria was at his side and simply said, no, maybe tomorrow. Slowly watching her husband fade away, hearing his pain, his begging, she would always answer that this is what he deserved. For the exterior world, Maria was a caring wife and Joseph was simply too far gone to make sense. If he rattled about the papers to someone else, 4-5 weeks in the hospital and Joseph died. A not-so-nice death, painful, gruesome, exactly on the terms that Maria decided how he should die. I found this tale quite disturbing. Maria got her revenge on her husband, giving him hope that it could be his last day and the pain will end, but crushing it every day again as well, to let him suffer in a cancer-infested body and to die on her terms. Slowly. TLDLR. Nah. Thanks for reading.